What's better today? I'm John Michael, and this is a field guide from the Apprentices, mostly reliable guide. Insiders get these linked directly from their journal right when they need them. You found it the long way round. That counts too. Read it. There is something in here for you. The rest is behind a door that is easier to open than you think. Now I'll hand over to Sherman Garfinkel.
Field Guide 008, the Theology of 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7. The rain had not let up. Charlie had stopped caring about it. The tea was hot, the workshop was warm, and Sherman had just said something that was still moving around inside her chest looking for somewhere to land. The next move is yours. She turned her mug in her hands. The verse in today's prompt, she said, 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, power, love, and a sound mind. She paused. I have read that verse before. I always read it as encouragement, like a pep talk. Sherman looked at her steadily, and now it feels more like a diagnosis. Something shifted in his expression. Not surprise. Recognition. The look of a teacher who has just heard a student say the true thing without knowing they have said it. Tell me more, he said. Charlie set her mug down. A spirit of fear. That is what Paul says God has not given us. But fear is exactly what I was running on this morning. The message arrived, and I went straight to threat response. What does this mean for the project? What does this mean for how they see me? What do I need to fix before anyone notices? She stopped. That is fear. That is precisely fear. Yes, Sherman said. So either Paul is wrong, or I am running something I was not given. Or, Sherman said, you were given the equipment and you have been reaching for something else out of habit. The rain pressed against the window. Bruiser did not move. 3 things, Sherman said. He did not reach for the notebook this time. He held them in the air between them, counted on his fingers. Power. Love. Sound mind. In the Greek, the word for power is dunamis. Charlie nodded slowly. Is the root of the word dynamite, not the power of authority or position or organizational rank, the power of capacity, of being genuinely able. He paused. The power to choose a cause, the power to use the gap. The word for love is agape, not sentiment, not the feeling that comes and goes depending on how the other person is behaving. The love that is a decision, a settled orientation toward the good of the other person regardless of what they just sent you in a message before you were vertical. He looked at her without apology. The love that writes a different reply. Charlie felt the accuracy of that land somewhere behind her sternum. And the sound mind, Sherman continued. Sophronismos in the Greek, self-discipline, self-control, but not the white-knuckled suppression of reaction. The word carries the sense of a mind that is ordered, settled, operating from a stable center rather than being thrown about by whatever arrives. He picked up his mug. A sound mind is not the absence of pressure, it is the presence of a foundation that the pressure cannot move. The room was quiet for a moment except for the rain. Paul wrote this, Sherman said, to a young man who was afraid. Timothy was leading a church in a city that was hostile, carrying responsibility he felt unequal to, surrounded by people who questioned his authority and his age. Paul did not tell him to feel less afraid. He told him what he had already been given. He set the mug down. The equipment was issued before the assignment. The spirit of fear was not part of the kit. Charlie stared at the table. She was thinking about the morning, the message, the reaction, the replies she had already decided to rewrite before the day ended. She had reached for fear this morning as though it were the only available tool, as though the kit contained nothing else. It contained 3 things. It had always contained 3 things. She had simply not been checking the inventory. The spirit of fear, she said quietly. What does it come from if God did not give it? Sherman looked at her for a long moment. That, he said, is a question for another day, and a better cup of tea than this one. He almost smiled, but the answer begins with formation, and you already know what shapes that. Bruiser lifted his head, looked at Charlie, and put it back down. Outside, the storm was beginning, very slightly, to ease. If you only remember one thing from this, you are not given a spirit of fear. You are given power, love, and a sound mind. These are not aspirational. They are already issued equipment. The question is not how to acquire them. The question is why you keep reaching for something else instead.
The story ends here. Sherman has more to say. Charlie has further to go. What you just read is the diagnosis. The prescription is free, and it's called The Refit. 6 guides, a workbook for your season, and a way to actually live this rather than just read it. Or if you are not ready yet, that is fine too. Sherman is not going anywhere. Neither is the workshop. Neither is the gap in the fence. Come back when you are ready.